in my own hometown. Stranger.
Howdy folks, Little John here, and today's version of the Whisky Jar. And today's taking to the next step for myself. I've done at this point we've done 4 generations of Uncle Jesse's simple sour mash, bourbon type recipe. And I've got a 5th generation sitting in the bucket at the moment. It's halfway through the ferment. It'll get run through next week on this and run down, and at that point that will leave me somewhere in the vicinity of 6 litres of uncut bourbon. So that's going to last me for, I guess, it's going to push up somewhere around 10 litres once it's cut back. So I'm in no rush for any more bourbon at the moment, and I really wanted to take that next step into doing a proper mash, getting things done properly. Excuse the noise there for a bit. God knows what that is, but some sort of bloody farming equipment. I'm guessing it's harvest season's on, so yeah, get a few big buggers rolling up and down the road. So, as I said, got enough bourbon, so for this time I might have a crack at, I might do an all-grain scotch whiskey. Obviously, can't do a scotch in Australia, not in Scotchland, but obviously the same style, so a Scottish style whiskey from scratch. So what I will be using in this recipe is starting with 8 kilo of malted grain, which I've got sitting here. I've got a big whopping bucket of it. It's all, I've got it milled and ground, ready to go. I said 8 kilos, 5½ kilos of Golden Promise, and 2½ kilos of lager malt. Now they're both Simpsons out of Pommy land, so it's close to Scottish malt as we can get. And also there's 180 grams of Special B, which is a darker malt, just for a little bit extra. I don't know what will really bring in anything, but I had it sitting there and it's only really going to go to waste, so I thought I might as well throw it in. So, process. What I'm looking to do is get 23 to 25 litres into the fermenter, which will run me down to somewhere around a 21, 22 litre wash. I'm looking to have it somewhere around 9 to 10% alcohol, so I can run just a straight run off distill when I run it, and get nice cask strength straight off. And should get me somewhere around in the 2 to 2.2 litres of straight spirit. So around 3-ish litres once cut back. So I'm going to mash my grain in the 50 litre kettle here. Now this would I normally fire this with gas. I'm just home from work. I really couldn't have been bothered dragging out the gas burner and the bottle and everything and sort of mucking around. It means doing this on the floor because I don't have a suitable stand to actually burn on. So what I'm doing is I've got my water in the robo brew, which is hiding back here, warming up. I will pump that into here and just let this sit and mash. So I'm warming my water to 68 degrees and I'm running a couple of degrees off, so I'm pretty close to get going on. And what I want to do, transfer at 68, it'll probably drop maybe a degree or 2 transferring into the kettle. Then I'm going to add my grain, and the grain should settle somewhere in the sort of low to mid 60s, and I want to mash in those low 60s, somewhere between 60 and 62. I'd be quite happy with. That's the position where I'm going to drag the most fermentable sugars out of the grain. the more fermentable sugars, the more alcohol I'm going to make, which means the more end product at the end. So, and it's just going to sit here. I don't need to heat it. It only takes around 20 minutes for most of the enzyme activity to happen within the grain and convert the proteins to sugars to get enough. But I'm going to let it sit for about 40 minutes to an hour. I've got to get this on and go and cook dinner and have dinner, so it'll just sit here. It's not going to hurt it. Once it's converted, the conversion's done, and it can sit here for as long as it likes. It doesn't really matter. As I said, the main thing is it just needs that 20 or 30 minutes of soaking in the water. So what I'm going to use, got my grain bag. Anybody, if you're doing if you're a brewer, this is what you use for a brew in a bag. And I'm just going to stick that in my pot. It would be really handy if it would actually stretch as far as it's meant to. Let's untie that little knot in it. That will help things immensely. So what I can do then is, once I've finished the mash, I can pull the bag out, remove the grain, let it all drain, and then just strain straight from this big pot back into the robo brew. Just going to pop a few pegs on here, and this is just to stop the bag from moving. Now, normally when you're doing a brew in a bag, you've got heat under the pot, and you're looking to stop the bag from actually getting down onto the base of the pot and scorching on the element. But because this is just going to sit and basically steep, I don't need to worry about that. So, bag's pretty much all the way in. Got me 8 kilos of grain, which I'm just going to dump straight into here. And normally when you're doing brew in a bag, you'll put your water in and add your grain to the water to avoid the clumps and getting dough balls, which will reduce your efficiency and your extraction. But I'm going to pump over from the robo brew. I'm going to pump them slowly, and I'll just slowly add in. So I'm just going to make basically a big whopper of porridge. Okay, so this is at 60, about to hit 68, that's close enough. So I'm going to start pumping this over. Switch the pump around. Into the pot. And as I said, I'm just going to let that run in nice and slow. Pump back on. And where we go. So, I've got 30 litres of water warming up. You can see steam there coming off that. I'm looking to get about 30 litres back into the kettle back into the boil. So I'll do 30 here. I'm going to lose probably 4 or 5 litres to absorption into the grain. I'll just simply top that back up with hot water into the boiler and boil that off. So yeah, anyone who does, if you're coming from a beer background, you understand. After you mash, you boil your grain, the wort, the actual grainy liquid without the grain itself, and add your hops, and that makes your beer before it's fermented. Obviously, with doing a whiskey, we're not looking to put hops in, so we just want to. All I really need to do on this is get it up to boil temp for about 10 minutes, just to kill any bugs, just to be sure. It's going to sit here at ambient temperature, and just to make sure we don't actually kill the wort and get anything nasty in there. Not quite as necessary as what it is when you're doing a beer, but I'm not going to take any chances. There could be a step that's not necessary. If someone's watching who is experienced with grain mashes, can verify whether it is necessary or not, it'd be good to hear. But I'm going to do it anyway, just for the moment, just for safety's sake. So I'm just mashing in. And we'll just mix all this grain through the water, make sure there's no lumps of grain that haven't been wet. As I said, and I'll let this sit for probably about an hour, and I'll transfer it over. So I'm going to just let this finish now, and I'll get this happen, and I'll come back a bit later and have just a little bit more of a chat about what's going on. Righto, so mash ended up running for a little over an hour and a half, about an hour and 3/4 actually. I come out after about half an hour, gave it a stir, and did it again about half an hour later. So we started off, we were at 63 degrees, it's now down to about 57. So it's been a good amount of time in that lower 60s, so I'm reasonably happy with that. So I'm just transferring off at the moment. I've just pulled the bag back away from the outlet on the kettle. It's draining over into the robo brew, and it's reached the end of that tap. It's not going to pull any more out at the moment. I've just got about 3.5 litres of just short of boiling water. I'm just going to tip that through the bag of grain just to wash out last little bits of the sugars. And she stopped running, so I have to pull this bag out and get it draining. That's all good. I'll do it in a sec. I'm just going to take a quick sample just to see where we're sitting gravity wise. That says 1060, which seems a little bit lower than what I would have liked. But I will got to squish this bag out. I'll get a little bit more out, so I'll check that when I'm actually finished. Looking for more around the 1070 mark, but I was sort of thinking I may need to add like a kilo of sugar in here just to boost the that gravity up, but we'll see. So right now I'm going to finish taking this out and transfer it, and then I'm going to give this a 10-minute boil and just let it sit overnight and cool. Then tomorrow I'll drop it into the fermenter. I'm going to drop in about 25 grams of scotch whisky yeast, which I'll just make up in the morning with a little bit of the water. I'll just rehydrate with that, just get it started and get in and going, and then just let it sit here on the bench in the garage at ambient. So it's going to sit in the low 20s, but the same as I've been doing with the JSSM. So that's pretty much it. Righto, folks. I've waited. This the next morning. This has been cooling overnight. It's still just a fraction warm, given we are sneaking up towards summer. The old overnight temperatures a bit warmer than what they've been, so it's taken a fraction longer to cool off. I'm going to transfer here. I thought I could get the bottom tap, but that's not going to work. So we'll pull this off with the cup. And just stick the up on there. That's for that thing. It's just been cleaned and sanitised. So I'll pop the hose over there. Turn this thing on, get the pump going. That looks good. Grab a hydro sample. So you can see where we've come at. As I said last night, we added the extra kilo of white sugar. So we'll let that see where it's going to go. Now, just we're cooling and transferring. I should get 22, 23 litres without too much trouble here. I didn't top up anything extra in the end. Might even get 24, we'll see how we go. Okay, so gravity's sitting there on they're sort of about 176 there at the moment. This is probably still sitting around the 30-degree mark, so it's probably going to finish about 178, which is pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Now, given that the grain's got a lot of unfermentable stuff in it, what I'm going to do, just to be sure I get down to around that 1000 mark with the ferment, I'm going to throw in some dry enzyme, which is normally used like for beer, for making low carbs. It helps just convert a lot of the sugars that can't be fermented into unfermentable sugar. Now, my understanding is that the whiskey yeast is going to eat this stuff anyway, but I'd rather throw this in just to be sure, just for a little bit of insurance. I don't want to have it sitting for 2 weeks and then find out it's stopped at bloody 10, 15, and as a result I've only got 8% alcohol instead of about 10. 10% is going to give me a decent output. I'm going to get 2 and a bit litres of pure spirit, which will run out to a bit over 4 bottles. At the end of the day, once it's cut down, which I'm happy with. But I really don't want to be doing it for for 2.5 or 3 bottles. So we'll just make sure. So I'll pitch this just before I pitch my yeast. Yeast wise, I've got that on just at the moment. I've just pitched that into about a cup and a half of the water. Okay. And we've reached the end of that. That's all of that, and we've got just a bit under 22 litres, so I'm reasonably happy with that. I might even throw an extra litre of water in. I think by the time this cools and we get to 170, I'm pretty... I don't know, we might just leave that. I've been running 18 or 19 litres. Okay, so the yeast is in. I'm just going to let that now activate for about I'll leave it for about an hour. Let this cool a bit, then I'll pitch completely. Doesn't really matter at this point because I've put the yeast into the water at that temperature, so it won't really matter. But that's it. That will go in with the yeast, and we'll let it do its thing, sit on the bench at ambient and see where it goes. So that's it. Leave this one now, and we'll come back in 2 weeks, and we'll look at running this one through the still, and we'll have a look at it then and see what sort of output we're getting. So till then, bottoms up.